Okay. So hello, my name is Trisha Reinhardt. My official title is Information Services Director, but that's just kind of a fancy title for a research librarian. Um, and so I do a lot of research consultations with students that need help with conducting their research. And sorry, someone else just popped in. And even with citing or anything of that sort. And we also hold these orientation sessions just as education for how to use the library and all that good stuff. So Jane, do you want to introduce
Yes,
yourself?
sure. My name's Jane Peck. I'm the director of the library, and I also do research consultations and meet with students to help them with their work. I also see everybody's final projects before they go to publication. So I work closely with students on making sure they've got the research they need. I help them with actually Trisha and I both help with copyright and permissions. Always a thorny problem of in some, well, maybe not always, frequently a thorny problem. And I've been at Regis 8 years, and I actually am an alum, but my master's in library sciences from Simmons University in Boston, and we work really hard to make sure students what they need to get the best work done. And so we'll be showing you how to use the library databases. We'll be touching on interlibrary loan and permalinks and RefWorks and research guides. And then finishing up with how to set up a research consultation. Hi, Brandy. Welcome. And Julian, welcome. Nice to see you, Carolyn and Christina. We're happy to have you join us. So I'm going to start with a little bit of, I'm going to share my screen, a little bit of navigation around the library website. Okay, so many of you know what this looks like, but if you don't, there's a number of different ways to get there. The library website is on the main Regis webpage. Over on the right-hand side is the menu, and if you click on that, over in academics, you can get to the library. You also can get to it right from Moodle. In the header of your Moodle classroom, if you click up on Regis College, the drop-down menu will show you the library. You can further get to it through Spike, and that's the student page at the bottom. If you scroll all the way down to all of the Regis website pages, you can find the student portal and jump into the library from there. Okay. So once you were in the library, on the library webpage, there are a bunch of different things that want to just take a quick look around at. First is Power Search, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that in a minute. There's our databases. The books is a link to our Minuteman Library Network, which links you out to 40 libraries, and also to the Commonwealth Catalog, which links you to all the libraries in the state of Massachusetts if you are looking for something specialized. Trisha's going to go over research guides with you. We have an APA 7th edition research guide there that a boatload of people outside of Regis use as well. I think it had 200 and something thousand hits last year. So it's very highly regarded, and you'll find it, you'll want to bookmark it. Journal titles, we'll talk about that. That if you click into that box, it will show you lists of journal titles. So say someone at work says to you, you have to go to the Journal of American Medical Association because they have an article, and you can't quite remember what the article is, but they said it was in the June publication. You can use this journal title finder to find that. RefWorks, Trisha is also going to go over that. That's a free service for keeping track of your citations that you're going to use in your final papers. And then contact us, which is how you get in touch with us. The other thing to know is this library hours. We keep this updated. Trisha does. She's fabulous with it. And it will tell you whether we're open, what the hours for the reference desk are, what the hours for the research help desk are. The library is open more hours than there are reference or research help, but you still have pretty good coverage. And we check our emails first thing in the morning. And if you put in a request in the evening, we'll get back to you the next day. So we're going to just try Power Search, and Power Search searches essentially all of the databases. And I'm just going to put in some keywords. Now, one of the things that we like to encourage students is to really play around with this. After we meet today, try it out yourself, because you'll find once you start using it, you're going to get more and more comfortable with it. And you can't break it. You can't put in a term that will break it. So sometimes you'll put in a term like this term and you'll get 61,005 articles. So holy moly, that's way too many for one human being to process. So I'm going to show you how to limit it to just what you need. Other times you might get a goose egg and you get nothing. Maybe you spelled something wrong. Maybe that isn't what the best search terms. And then you can work through that issue as well. But don't get discouraged. Persistence is the most important attribute of a successful student. So I put in adverse childhood experience. And if you'd like to follow along, please do in the Power Search box. And there's a research starter that comes up for this term, and you could have a look at that. And again, there are over 61,000 articles to look at. So that's way too many. So often now the internet gives you basically a fire hose worth of information, and you need to limit it to what you really are looking for. So you'll get your results, and on the left-hand side of your screen is where you can start limiting. And you know that you need to use scholarly or peer-reviewed articles. That's pretty much a given. So you click in the box, and that will throw out book reviews, opinion pieces, letters to the editor, that kind of stuff. And that unless you're looking for that, you really don't want to have your life complicated by. So that got rid of about 10,000. So now we have 49,000, a lot still. We do know that most often professors ask you to look at the last 5 years or less. So in this box, you can type in a date and it will search for you. And you can also pull the bar up if you want. And if you have a professor who says you really only want the last couple of years, you would want to make that even tighter, which would get rid of a number of articles. So now we're just down to 36,000. So, not too terrible, but you might want to think about what that looks like in your research. That's an awful lot of articles to be worrying about. If you are doing a long-term project, you might want to put in a few more search terms, and that would bring the total down, and I'll show you what that looks like. But if you're doing something that is due Sunday night, and you need to read those articles right now, and you only need 3, you're going to want to ask for full text. And that got us down to 23,000. That's still an awful lot. So let's add some more keywords. And let's say that we want to add in, if you could type, Jane, that would be good. Infant. Let's see what happens. Well, now we're down to about 1,400. And we also want to add in, let's say we want the United States. And one of the really nice things about Power Search and EBSCO is that once you start typing in these boxes, it will offer you choices. So for things like, how do you spell rheumatism? Well, I'm not really good at those words and all those cardiomyopathy, and I'm not a good speller. So when I start typing in that box, it starts offering me words and terms that are close to what I know and will offer me the correct spelling oftentimes. And then in this case, it's going to offer us all the variations. Some of us call America the United States, America, USA, US, and you want to make sure you get all of those. So I'm going to add that as a search term. And now we only have 439 to go through, which is pretty good. But say you want to refine this even further, and well, you only had 3 boxes, so you can't do any more. But yes, you can. You can add a box by clicking on the plus sign. You can also change your Boolean operator. So this is a Boolean operator. There's and, or, and not. And they were devised by Dr. Boolean. And when you add each of these in, it gives you a different result. So if you say and, you are narrowing your search terms because it will not allow for other terms. If you add in or, you're going to get a bigger number because it's going to look at both those terms. So I really want this number to go to something more reasonable. So let's say that I'm looking at African American infants with an adverse childhood experience. And now we're down to 40 titles, which is much more manageable. It's still a lot, but as you can see, it is still applying all of those same limiters to it. It's still saying it's scholarly and peer reviewed. It's still saying full text, and it's still limiting to the date range you gave it. If we wanted to limit this even more, let's try to 20. Let's see. We can add that in as well, and we might get it down to something that you might want to think about using. So that's how you develop a search in Power Search. There's also on this screen a way to look at the search history. So say you're working along, you've added in various terms, you can keep adding boxes upon boxes. And then you sort of get a little lost and you're like, darn, that search like 5 searches ago was much better than the search I'm in right now. How do I see that? If you click on the search history, it will show you exactly what we've been doing. And you can see down here where I've added each of the terms, and it gives me the results that I got. And you can view those results, or you can say, wow, this was a great search. I could revise this search from here. And you can continue to work with that. When you open the search history, all it does is push the results to the end of the search history. They aren't gone. I used to have a panic attack when I was a student. Like, they're gone. But no, they're right there. Just scroll down. And when you've done looking at your search history, you can just go back and click on the little caret, and it will hide it again. All right. The other thing that you can do is, say you're at work on your lunch hour, you are using your computer at work, you're doing some searching and you're in the zone, you've got a great search, but you don't know how to save it and you don't know how to share it with yourself so you can continue working on it when you're at home. You want to click on the share button over here, and it will create a permalink for you right here. And if you copy and paste that permalink into your email and send it to yourself when you get home, you can click on it and reopen this search. It won't show you the search history. It'll just show you this particular search that we have open right now. This is a great way to save searches if you use multiple computers. The other thing is if you think, oh, I'll just grab this address up here in the address bar, that'll get me back to the search. No, it doesn't. It is a temporary address for every search. It's a temporary address for each one. So each time you do this, if you want to save what you found, you are best to create a permalink. Okay. Now I'm going to take our full text limiter off because we're going to look at what happens when you want to do something with interlibrary loan. So here we have our articles, and we have a nice 50, which is still a lot, but certainly something you can work with. And you're saying to yourself, what do I do with this list? Well, you're going to want to read through the titles. Think about how the best way to read a scholarly article, and that includes reading the title. I often read them out loud to make them more clear in my mind. Oh, this is where they're going with this. You don't have to do that. Have a look at who is the author. You can often see their credentials. You can click on that and look at that. You might, if you're interested, then read the abstract. If you find out after reading the abstract that, wow, this is the best article ever, but we don't have it in our collection available full text, you're going to want to request it from Interlibrary Loan. And when you click on this, it will bring up a screen. I'll click on it right now, but because I'm signed in as myself, it will auto-populate with my information. It already knows who I am. But if it's the first time you've used Interlibrary Loan, you'll get a screen that asks you for your name, your Regis credentials, your Regis email, because the vendors want to make sure you're supposed to have access to this material and that you're supposed to be allowed to request it. So make sure you use your Regis email, and it will ask a couple of other questions, and it will create an account that every time you log in to the Regis library, it knows who you are, and it will auto-populate that information. And further, it will auto-populate your citation. So you'll look at this, and if you know you want it, you're just going to hit submit, and off goes the request to the Interlibrary Loan librarian, who will send it out into the wide world of library catalogs, and they will send you an email with a link and a password to this article. It's very, very important that when you get that you open it, use the password, and download the article. The links expire after 30 days, and it will no longer be available to you. So make sure that if you are asking for an interlibrary loan, that you then open it and download it so that you can save it for your research. There's nothing more frustrating than realizing that, oh no, that article that I really wanted, I requested and it's expired, and you have to go through the whole process again. I'm not going to submit this because we have a lot going on at Interlibrary Loan. I don't need to fill that up with ones that we don't really want. So that's what that means. What happens when you have the PDF full text? This is where you can click on that. The PDF full text will open, and you'll be able to do a lot of different things with it. One of the first things to remember is that when you create your search, you run your search, you've got your search results, you did all of that, and you limited all of that for your whole search on the left-hand side. That's where the limiters are, and that's what has created this this list. When you open a specific article, everything you want to do and can do to this article is on the right-hand side. So the first thing you can do is, if you're working with a cohort of students and you're all using Google Drive, you can send it to Google Drive. You can save it to the cloud. You can print it. Some people really need to print things out. I do. I like to mark them up, write all over them. You can do that. You can email it to yourself. You can also put it in a folder, which I'll cover how to do that in a moment. You can also look and see and ask for a citation. And this is this gold piece of paper. And if you click on it, it gives you a whole bunch of citation formats. And we know that what we are looking for is APA 7th edition. And what we also know is that these are not perfect. These are added in by either the author or a service. And the service is generally not especially careful. And so as I can see right now, the title of the article is incorrect, right? It should be in sentence case, not in all capitals. So you'll get to know APA 7th edition and you will spot those problems right away. But that doesn't mean you can't copy and paste it. It has the DOI, which is the digital object identifier, a unique identifier for articles. And it has the authors, and I'm looking at the author names, and they look great. They look like they're in the right format. But you'd want to check each and every section of the citation and make sure that it's correct and correct any issues you have. You can copy and paste this and put it in your reference list, or if you're working, Trisha will show you about RefWorks. Okay. So that's very handy. You can export the article to RefWorks. There's a direct export to RefWorks right here. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. And you can also create a permalink for this article. So as I mentioned before about the results, this is only a temporary address in this address bar. People are searching EBSCO databases multiple millions of times a day, and they just give you article addresses that are temporary. So you would want to create a permalink, and that is these little chain links. Here's the permalink. You would want to copy and paste it. Make sure you copy the whole shebang, otherwise it won't work. Some people like to start a Word document and drop each of the permalinks for articles in there. That's kind of the belt and suspenders way of doing things. You've got a permalink, but you also have saved it in order to make sure that you don't lose your articles. That is the most frustrating thing to happen, and we'll be happy to help you with it, but you'll be much happier if you don't have to do that. Okay, so that's how we get around all of these different things. One of the other pieces I wanted to go over tonight for you is about folders. And EBSCO is our vendor for most of our databases, a large portion of our databases. And they allow you to create a folder. I hope I'm signed in because I don't remember my sign in. Oh, nope, I don't want to continue with Google. No. Well, maybe I can continue with Google.
Just hit the back button if you.
Well, can I go this way? And go?
You could try. It might be creating a new account for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Never mind. I won't do that. Hold on here. Go back. No. No, thank you. And I don't see that I have saved my username and password. I'm not going to create a new account right here, but you can create a new account. I will warn you that you need to do a password that is really hard. They expect it to be pretty much Fort Knox, and there's no way for us to see it. There's no way for us to help you with it. So I highly recommend writing it down, and I have it written down somewhere. I should have looked. I apologize. But once you've created an account, it will let you create folders. And you can create as many folders as you like. You can create them by paper. You can create them by your class name. If you want everything in one folder, you can create a folder for your class. And then within that, you can create folders for different assignments. So it's very handy, and I highly recommend doing it. It's very easy as well. I should have gotten my password, but I'll let that go. So do we have any questions yet? You can put them in the chat or unmute yourself. I think you can unmute. No, I just want to touch on one other part about having folders. You can, once you have signed into your folders, you can create alerts. So when you're working on your long-term project, whether it's a master's dissertation or your SPP, or any of the other long-term projects, if you want to create alerts for that, so that your subject area, using your subject terms or your PICO question, or whatever you decide to use, you can create alerts, and you'll get new articles on your topic directly to your email from EBSCO. It's a great service, and so feel free to use that. And I don't see any questions. I think I have covered all the. Now we're giving you lots of information. Please don't be overwhelmed. And please be aware that we are more than happy to work with you on these different parts. Trisha is going to talk about the next piece of our presentation, and I'm happy to see you all. So I'll let Trisha jump in, and I'll be quiet.
Thanks, Jane. So I actually was able to sign into my EBSCO account, so I can show really briefly, I can show what the back end looks like once you create an account and everything.
Because she wrote down her or saved her password.
Oh, I mean, I have it saved on my browser. I don't think I'd remember what it was off the top of my head. So
I'm gonna find mine, I promise.
So I've just done a similar search here. And I have signed in, so I went to the same area up here. I did the sign in, sign up, and I've signed in. If you don't already have an account, you would create one. And then this is what it would look like once you're logged in. And the kind of cool thing is, if you're in the middle of doing a search and you say, oh yeah, I need to sign up for an account, you can go in, sign up, log in, and it will save your search. So you'll still have your search there and be able to start saving those articles. So, as you're working in your search here, you can see, I know that I'm signed in because it says sign out here. It's really important to create that account and sign in to save. Otherwise, it will only save it to your browser instance, at the moment that you're searching here. But once I'm signed in, I can start saving articles. So, let's say this one looks really interesting. Over on the right hand side here, there is a little blue folder with a plus sign next to it. So when I click on that, now I already have custom folders set up. So it's asking me, which folder do you want to put this in? But if it's your first time, it's just going to save it to your generic My folder. So let me add a few of these here. Just add the first 3. And so now that I've added, let's say I log out, go to work, and then I come back later and I log in and I want to see those articles that I saved before. So I sign in, and then I go up here. Now my folder looks like it has stuff in it because I added those articles to the folder. So when I click on this, now it gets me into the back end of EBSCO folders, and here are those articles. Actually, I have other ones that that I've done as well. The ones that you add will show up down the bottom. But here's the articles that we added. And so now, if I'm working on multiple different projects, or I have a really big paper that has different pieces to it that I want to organize my research, you can create custom folders here. And I have a bunch here already. You just click new. Adverse childhood, oops, childhood experiences, or whatever you want to name it, whatever works for you. And now I can take these articles that I've added here and move them to my folder that I just added. And so the results look just as they did in the regular results list. So if you still need to request it from Interlibrary Loan, that link is here for you. If you need to get to the PDF, you haven't downloaded that yet, it's here. So that's just that's just how that operates once you're actually in there. It's really user friendly, and a good service to have, especially if you're doing a lot of research and you want to keep track as you're searching. So the thing that I really wanted to go over is RefWorks. And RefWorks is, you may have heard of other citation management tools like EndNote or Mendeley or Zotero, or some other one, Noodle Tools, I think is one, that, some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for, and some of them are provided, like ours, through our institution. And so we have RefWorks, and it's a citation management tool that is used, it's towards the end of your paper, like when you're getting ready to move your citations over and get a bibliography together and cite those sources. So if we go into one of these articles here, you can actually export it into, and I know Jane had kind of shown you, you can export this into RefWorks. But first, let me show you how to get into RefWorks to create your account. So back at the library homepage, there's the RefWorks button here. And so this just, and I actually already had it open here, but this just talks a little bit about RefWorks, all the functionality that it has, how to use it essentially. But it also has the link to get into it here. And so you want to create an account, which is down here. So you're not going to do this use login for my institution because we don't have a direct login with them. So you want to make sure you create an account. But when you create that account, you need to use your Regis email. So it knows that because it is an institutional subscription, they need to know that you are a Regis student in order to use it. So just make sure you do use your Regis email when setting up your account. And so I'm going to sign into, oh no, of course this would happen. You think you have everything all set up.
Yep.
All right, so bear with me for one moment as I reset my password, because apparently the password that I have saved in my home computer does not match the one that I have saved in in my work computer. So just, briefly as I'm going through this, with RefWorks, you can export citations from the databases right into it. You can also search for citations as well once you are in, let's say you have like a print article in front of you and you say, oh, I don't remember how I found this. you can actually search for the article in RefWorks, and it will it'll show you a list of articles, and you just choose the correct one, and it will auto fill in all of those pieces of the citation for you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again because I'm in. All right, there we go. So here's my RefWorks. I've created my account. I'm now in. Now I already have some stuff in here because I've been here for 8 years now, and I've done a lot of these demos. So yours, if it's your first time, will obviously be empty, look a little different. But let me show you. Let me go back to our search results here, and I'll show you, because most likely this is how you'll be putting your citations in as you're going through. You know, you're finding it, you're saying, yes, I'm using this. I want to use this in my paper. I want to generate it in my final bibliography. So click on that, and then over in the tools here, which Jane showed you before, you go to export. And so we have it defaulted to RefWorks because that's what we subscribe to. But if you did use another citation management tool, you can export it as a RIS file or direct export it into that as well. And oh boy, nothing's going right today with this. Let me try running this search again. Sometimes EBSCO falls asleep and I've had this happen before. And it loses that connection with RefWorks. So let's try this again. So let's do this. And again, over tools and export, direct export to RefWorks.
Fingers
And
crossed.
nope, giving me the same message. That's really weird. I'll have to look into that. But I can show you now. I can show you how to search for it in RefWorks. You know, let's say you have a print copy of it, and you say, I want to get this citation into RefWorks. So I'm going to take the article title, and then I'm going to go back to my RefWorks over here. And so now I want to add a citation to my list here. And now, you know, you can set up custom folders if you want to, if you're working on multiple projects. Most likely you're creating one bibliography, so you'll just have the one folder. So, you know, I'm just going to go into my test here. And I'm going to go to add. And so now you can upload a document. Like if you have the PDF, you can upload it. Sometimes it pulls the citation information for you, but this honestly isn't the most reliable way to do it. You can import references from, as I mentioned, if you exported it as what's called a RIS file, which has all the citation information in the file, you can import that in, or you can create a new reference like I'm going to show you right now. So now you just want to choose what reference type that you're doing. And so we're doing a journal article now, and that is most likely the type of source that you'd be using. So I have the title of the article there, and now you can hit this little lightning bolt. And so now it gives you some articles that were not what I searched for. Nothing is working right today with RefWorks. I should have tested this, I guess, right before we started.
Yeah. Usually
so,
it works pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, it does. It knew we were doing this orientation, and it said, I'm going to act up. Let's pretend that this top one is the one that we wanted. So I can show you how it works. And then when you click on it, it then pulls in the author. It even puts the abstract in there for you, although that's obviously not going to go in the citation. And then it gives you the DOI number and the volume and issue and all of that as well. And so then you can go ahead and hit save. And then you can add as many as you need, whichever ones that you're going to be actually using. And so now what you can do, let's say you get a good list here. You can select all and you say, I'm ready to create my bibliography now. You can go up here to create bibliography. Create bibliography. And then now this defaults to APA 7th. We have it default because that's the #1 citation style that's used on campus, let alone, in the graduate level programs. So it will default to APA 7th. You don't have to go searching for it. And it gives you a references list here. And now, just like the EBSCO citation generator, it's not 100%. It does a pretty good job. Like these don't look too terrible. There's some like spacing issues, like here, there should be a period and then a space. But for the most part, it does a pretty good job and it gets you most of the way there. So you can certainly copy and paste this into your paper, but you do want to make sure that you understand what a journal citation should look like, and update it accordingly for any weird issues you see, like this one here, or if the title is in that title case instead of sentence case, that sort of thing. Now you can also download a tool into your Word so that you can cite while you're actually writing. And so if you go to tools here, tools, it gives you some instructions on how to, depending on what version of Word you have. I think most people probably have the latest versions of Word. So you would look for the RefWorks Citation Manager. Let me see. Open recent. Okay, I'm going to open a blank document here so I can just show you. I already have it here, but I can show you. You want to go to it might be called Microsoft Store, or I'm on a Mac, it's Get Add-ins. And wow, nothing is working for me today. Basically, you would search for RefWorks and it would pop up in the search and you would click to add it. And then once you add it, it will show up here as RCM on your Word. And so then you can log into RefWorks and then it will show you, and here it auto logged in for me, which is great. So, I am writing a paper about childhood, blah, blah, blah. And so let's say, you used this particular source, you paraphrased this particular source, now you need to put in an in-text citation. So you can do cite this, and it will cite it right here for you. And so you can keep going, citing the different ones. Just going to do a few here. Just pretend I'm typing my paper. And then you can go to the end when you're all done. You go to the 3 little bars here to where the settings in. And right now I have my bibliography turned off. But now I'm done writing my paper and I want it turned on. And so now it will generate that list here for you. So that is RefWorks. Don't save. And that's RefWorks in a nutshell. Any questions about RefWorks before I move on to the research guides?
You can put them in the chat or unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I can move on to research guides, and feel free if you think of something, in 2 minutes, feel free to put it in the chat and we'll address it. So back at the library homepage here, we just did a search in PowerSearch. But now here we also have our research guides. And so these are sort of after the fact point of reference tools that you can use. And when I click on it, it's going to show me a list of subjects that we have. And so we have the citations subject with the APA guide, which I'll show you in a minute. We also have nursing for graduate and doctoral students, as well as social work. So you can click on one of these and it shows a list of guides that your expert librarians feel would be most beneficial to you. And so there's some overlap. So you'll see the APA one in citations as well as the programs that cite an APA. But you might also see some that are very specific to the program, and you'll see some that are for specific classes. Like there is NU 605 Concepts of Nursing Leadership one, for those of you that are just starting your journey with us. And so, these are, you can come back to them later and sort of explore independently. And it covers a lot of the stuff that we went over today: how to do a search, how to get to the databases, what are the best databases to go to for your particular discipline or topic. For the nursing leadership one, we have this video here. Sorry, I was just pulling up the.
I'm just going to jump in real quick and answer Julian's question. Interlibrary loan is free, and PDF full text is also free.
Thank you. So there is a video here specifically for the nursing leadership folks that goes over searching for doing searches for the specific research assignments for that course. But we also have going back here, we also have a library video tutorials guide as well that goes over a lot of the same stuff that we went over today. So if we have bombarded you with too much information to remember, and you say, well, how did they say to do this? Where do I go for this? You can go here and watch these videos and it will kind of refresh your memory. But I was going to show you the APA research guide, which is, and you can also, if you know what the guide is called, you can go to all guides here, and they're in alphabetical order. So I know I want to get to the APA 7th one here. And I also wanted to show you how many views we have on it so far. 172,000. And so that is January through December. So we are definitely almost at that 200,000 mark that we had last year. It's a very popular guide. It's our most popular guide. And we do strongly recommend you bookmark this one, because while it does not replace the APA manual, you definitely want to have the APA manual. It does have a pretty user-friendly, comprehensive information on anything from how to format your paper. And we even have templates here that you can use. So depending on what type of APA 7th has a student template and a professional template. So depending on what your course or professor has asked for, we have a template that you can open up and use to help you with formatting your paper, as well as numerous resources to help you with that. But I think our most popular is this reference examples. And so we have a list of examples here of the types of sources we get asked about the most. I think the most common one is journal article. And so, this would be this and the APA manual, obviously, but this would be a good place to go. Let's say you've used a citation generator or using RefWorks, and you say, oh, this piece looks a little funny. It looks like it generated a little weird. Come here, see how it's supposed to look, and then edit the citation as as it's supposed to be. So we have journal article, we have and many different iterations of journal article as well. But we also have citing up to date. If you use up to date in your courses at all, there's an example citation here, as well as books, ebooks. I think we even have stat pearls on here as well, how to cite that. So it's our most popular resource for a reason. So we would really encourage you to use this, and also to peruse our other guides and see what else that you might find helpful.
I do too want to let you know that to find up to date, you need to go to the main webpage, I think, and look in databases.
Yeah,
and get the A to Z list.
Yeah. And this is also where you'll find CINAHL, social sciences with full text, Medline, any of those other allied health databases as well, if you wanted to search anything specifically. But you go to U, and then here's up to date right here. And make sure you click through here so it knows that you're a student. Okay. So if you come away from here and you still have a lot of questions, or you get searching and you get stuck, and you just, you want to sit down with someone to go over your research and what's the best way to do this. Because sometimes you get in here and you have that looks straightforward, that looks great, and then you get in with your topic and you're like, well, that didn't work the same way. And you need someone to bounce ideas off of, or to walk you through the process with your specific topic. We're happy to do that. We have a contact us button here. So when you click on that, it takes you to our contact us page. And so we have our research help hours here, which are different than our building hours. So make sure you pay attention to this before you try to call or come in if you're close to campus. But we do have a consultation request form here. And so I'll just show you what it looks like really quickly. So you just fill out your information, what you're working on. That really helps us so that we can prepare to know how to help you. And then your choices, and if you are an online student and you're in a different time zone, we need to know that. We're in Eastern Standard Time, so if you are in a different time zone, just make sure you convert that, because the times down here are Eastern Standard Time. And then you submit it, and we get back to you very quickly, and we match you up with the librarian that's available. We do have evening and weekend librarians as well that can meet with you. These are our hours here. So we have reference help, research and reference help till 8 p.m. most nights, and then 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. And you can always email us as well with any quick questions. How do I cite this? What database is best for this? We're at reference@regiscollege.edu. Very easy. So you can always email us if you have any quick questions.
And we all just got switched to Zoom phones. The telephone numbers haven't changed, so you can always call us as well. We might sound a little fumbled and overwhelmed at first because we're still learning how to answer those. It sounds like, oh, of course you can answer Zoom phone, but it's taken a little time to figure it out. So don't give up. Persistence is key. The persistent students are the students who are successful, and we really want you to be successful. So I hope you'll send any questions you have, or come by and see us if you're local. We're ready and willing to help.
Any last minute questions from anyone about anything we covered?
This is a huge brain dump, so
Yeah.
don't be surprised if you get walk away and say, what did they say? So, as you can see, you have to be persistent. Oh, thank you, Christina. I hope we'll see you or hear from you if you have questions.
Well, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And just get in touch.
Yeah.
Please get in touch if you have any questions at all. We're here to help.
And we will be running this same program again in person on Tuesday, right?
Through Zoom on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, Zoom on Tuesday. Yep.
Mhm.
At 4 o'clock.
Yes, 4 o'clock
Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that.
Yes.
All righty. Take care, everybody.
All right.